Hi and welcome. My name is Martin, and today I'm going to be sharing my experience of teaching 16 years and what I would recommend other teachers to do, because at this time of year, around December, it was the time that I started teaching English as a foreign language, and it's quite a nostalgic period. It's quite a period of self-reflection, particularly at the end of the year, and I thought, why not share my tips and my advice for other teachers who have maybe less experience than myself, or maybe for other teachers who have similar experience to me, and hopefully you have the same ideas when it comes down to teaching and what your philosophy is when it comes down to English language teaching. Anyway, I thought today this video is going to be quite informal, quite relaxed. It's probably going to be one of my last videos of the year, and before I start, a huge thanks to everybody who has supported this channel. I really appreciate it. The fact that I've nearly hit 9,000 subscribers is hugely that's shocking. I'm really surprised. I never thought I would get to 9,000, and it looks like maybe in a few months hitting that 10,000 subscriber count would be really something, well, a possibility really. I think it's fair to say, and I really appreciate everybody's feedback and everybody's support for this channel, and I do hope the videos and the content that I create is appreciated. But before I ramble on about that side of things, I thought I'd make a video, to share my experience as an English language teacher and my philosophy towards teaching and what I've learnt over the 16 years that I've been teaching now, whether it's face-to-face or online, as we all are due to the continuing pandemic. Anyway, let's keep it positive and let's see how we get on. And perhaps before I continue, if you could let me know in the comments of your maybe 5 tips that you would recommend other teachers to maybe consider in the comments, that would be great. So please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas in the comments. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing that I would recommend other teachers who are just entering into the profession is that you can't please everyone. This is just as right as for colleagues as it is for students. And when I say you can't please everyone, let's break it down into colleagues and students. For students, they may have quite intrinsic ambitions to achieve C1, C2 level, but their current level is maybe B1 and they want to try and achieve that in 8 weeks. But as we all probably know, an intermediate student going into proficiency is going to take a long time, and language learning is a lifelong endeavour. It's not going to be something that you can achieve within 2 months, Maybe for very, very talented individuals, they can achieve huge improvements in those 2 months, but for the vast majority of students, they won't be able to achieve such a huge improvement in a short period of time. It's very intensive, very stressful, and when it comes down to stress and communicating, it really can affect how students communicate. So if they're under pressure, I have students say that when they're under pressure, they kind of, forget the vocabulary they have in their head, and they focus on the stress and the worries that they have inside themselves. But include that within, trying to achieve a certain level, you're already piling on the stress and the pressure, and that stress and pressure may overspill onto the teacher. And I've taught students who want to get C1, C2 level because they're hoping to get that promotion, and that's all they can see at the moment. They're kind of they're not really seeing the whole picture. They can't see the forest to the trees. They're just saying, okay, I need this level because I'll get that promotion, and if I get that promotion, I can do this and I can do that. I can offer my family better things, and that's all commendable. But when it comes down to the individual student and them not achieving what they are aiming to achieve, it could turn into displeasure. Maybe students are unhappy. They try and find reasons then why they're not achieving that, and that could be down to, okay, my teacher's not good, I need to change the tutor. Okay, next tutor, no, that one's not good, and so on and so on. So what I've found is with the generally higher students is that they are a bit more picky in this regard, so they kind of put the onus on the teacher rather than themselves. And I found now that you can't please all students. It's an impossibility. Also, when it comes down to colleagues, there's certain things, teachers are as different as people, and there's going to be some colleagues out there who do things differently to you, and you may question that and go, well, what I'm doing is right, but why are they doing that? It can't be right. And that's perfectly natural, but you need to understand that although what you're doing is right, that other colleague, that they're doing is also right. It's right for them, it's right for their students, it just works, and we're all different. And so you need to have an acceptance that there is differences, and there is a different way of teaching, and there are differences of, pedagogy and methodology. And colleagues may disagree with you because of the fact that they don't accept how you do things, or they may find what you're doing is absurd. But then again, you can't please everyone. You can't get on well with everyone. And so that would be my first tip, or my first advice for new teachers. The second piece of advice that I'd have for new teachers or those with limited experience is that it's okay to make mistakes. And it's okay that you don't know particular types of grammar. It's okay that you kind of don't have a sort of mind that you can't remember all the grammatical structures and all the grammatical rules. That's okay, because we're only human, and it's a folly to believe that everybody's perfect. What makes us unique is that we do make mistakes, and students make mistakes, and other colleagues make mistakes. And it's okay to accept people for who they are, rather than saying, okay, they're not perfect, and trying to dig in and trying to criticize because they're not perfect, because then that becomes a bit too vindictive. So I think it's important for teachers themselves to look into themselves and say, well, actually, yes, I don't know this very well, or I don't know this type of topic very well, and also trying to improve yourself based on your flaws and your weaknesses. We do that for students. We say, okay, you don't know the conditional forms that well, so focus on that, try and study that, try and use it. And as teachers, we need to apply the same principle. For me, it was about my 8th year of teaching when I realised that I'd never looked at phonology. I didn't look at pronunciation. It was kind of something which was out there, but I didn't necessarily focus on it. I knew about the phonemic chart, but it looked like a different alphabet to me. I didn't know it. But then I decided, well, I'm going to try and improve myself, because I'm not perfect. I can make mistakes, and I want to know a bit more about the phonemic chart and pronunciation. And I just dived in, and I would recommend any teachers that have this weakness, whether there's limitation to certain elements of your teaching, go into that weakness, dive in, try and learn a bit more, because now I find myself absolutely enthralled and fascinated by pronunciation. I wouldn't have thought that I'd be like that when I first started in my first couple of years of teaching, but I found it absolutely fascinating. I've read more and more books about it. I've developed all sorts of techniques to develop, the skill of teaching and including pronunciation within my lesson. I find it absolutely fascinating. And you may find the same thing. So if there's something that you're not too sure about, dive straight in, because you'll find something beautiful, possibly fascinating, about that element of teaching. So that would be my second tip. My third advice or principle would be to teach the student and not teach the material. There needs to be a sort of rethought. For me, when I was early on in my teaching career, I was trying to look at material as a time filler. It wasn't necessarily there to help students, it was there to fill the times until the next lesson. And so I was developing material to best suit the time, the allocated time that I had, 55 minutes for my hourly lessons. But then as I got on in my career, I discovered that actually, what I'm doing is principally wrong. I shouldn't be creating material to fill time. I shouldn't be creating material so that students are busy with something. What I should be doing is trying to decide, based on my students, what is it that they should try and learn from the lesson, and what is it that can help with that lesson. If you have a look at it, the worksheets and the tasks help you achieve the particular aim that you're striving towards. So look at material as a way to help your students rather than a sort of way of delivering to students in a sense, So try to teach the students, try to think about what do the students really need and what can I do to try and help them achieve that. That would be my third piece of advice for other teachers. The fourth piece of advice, philosophy if you want to call it, is about observing other teachers. Now, you could read hundreds of books about teaching, English language teaching, elements of teaching English as a foreign language, but you're not going to be as good as someone who's observed another teacher. And I found it incredibly difficult when I first started teaching because I had no possibility of observing teachers. I arrived at the school. I only had a bachelor's degree at the time in South Korea, and the Hagwon director, the private language school director, said, well, there's your class and those are your students, and you're going to be teaching 6 classes throughout the day, 6 hours in total. Good luck, and let me know if you need any help. And I found it incredibly stressful. I spent hours the night before preparing all my lessons, all 6 hours of lessons, and I was thinking, if only I could observe another teacher delivering a lesson, that would be absolutely perfect. And I didn't have that opportunity, and I would recommend any teachers, no matter their level of experience or not, then to observe other teachers. And what I ended up doing was I tried to get at my language school in the UK was for these newly certified teachers to observe other teachers, particularly young learners, which are not necessarily included within the CELTA course itself. It's touched upon very briefly, but you don't actually see a young learner class. So what I would recommend is that try and observe as many classes and as many teachers as possible, because you can learn so much from a practical side rather than reading or planning it within the confines of your four walls, I suppose. And that would be my next tip. Observe other teachers as much as you can. And, you can flip it the other way. You could get teachers to observe yourself and provide you feedback. The fifth and final piece of advice that I have for other teachers is to foster an inclusive environment. Now, I love the opportunity to share my own material and get teachers' feedback on that material. I was able to do that quite well with a private language school in my hometown. And, teachers gave me feedback, I developed it, and I tried to foster this inclusive environment for other teachers to share their material. And I think it helps. Also, try to include an inclusive environment, not just in your staff room, but also in the classroom, so that students are able to help each other and support each other, because this would make it so much more friendly, I guess. And the students will have a greater rapport with each other. The teachers will have a greater rapport with each other. Again, my first point, you can't please everyone, so not everyone will feel that an inclusive environment would be best. I accept that. But then, you can overcome that, and you can support and include everyone within that environment and within that staff room, classroom. That would be supportive. So when I come to different things about inclusivity for staff, I seek advice. I say, look, I've got this issue with a particular student. This is what I thought about it. Do you have any other ideas or thoughts, or do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there something I could do something different? And it kind of continues, and it really is a nice environment, because you find a place within that staff room, you find a place within that environment. Whereas if you're isolated, you're by yourself, you don't know. And it's so important nowadays, particularly when we're all teaching online, maybe working from home, and you've got staff or colleagues who are also within the confines of their own room. And it makes sense to have weekly meetings. It makes sense to have a catch-up at the end of the week to share the struggles, the achievements, and everything else like that, because that does more to help you, despite working in the confines of your own home, and finding your place within a team rather than being isolated by yourself and having no ideas to bounce off from. So that would be my final and last piece of advice. Foster that inclusive spirit wherever you go. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this possibly last video for 2021, and I do hope that you have your own ideas and thoughts about teaching and your philosophies and tips, because it would be great to hear what you suggest in the comments below. And also, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well, because you'll be notified when I upload a new video, and that becomes available as well. Moving forward, 2022, well, let's see. I'm hoping to upload a weekly video, a video each week, and it would be great to hear your thoughts or ideas on what I could upload, what sort of videos I could record in the future, because I'm just by myself here and I'm just chatting to a camera and hoping people will tune in. But I certainly hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, and I certainly wish for everybody to have the best year considering everything that's happened over the past almost 2 years now. In the meantime, stay safe and happy teaching. Bye bye.